This is a cherry tree off the property that I grew up on, and I'm going to turn it into trim for a camper project I'm working on. Now I'm putting some old stain I had on the tree, but after doing it, decided I didn't like that at all, and just decided to rip it up into smaller pieces instead of trying to use it as one large beam. Now that we've ripped the tree in the bandsaw into 4 pieces, I'm going to run it through this planer to get a uniform thickness and also make them flat and smooth.
Hello. I've got all the pieces of the ripped tree on the table here, and what I've done at this point is hold this straight edge up. This is an 8-foot straight edge, and put some marks on it so that I can just use a handheld circular saw to straighten out one side, and I'm going to chop them off where I have them marked here into the lengths that I need. And then, like I said, run a circular saw down it to straighten one side so that then I could pass it through a table saw easier and a joiner. So I've got all my lengths done, and I've done that because if you look down this thing is shaped like a dadgum S. If I tried to run this through a joiner as it is, there would be pretty much nothing left to it. So like I said, I'm going to chop it first into the lengths that I need. Then I'm going to straighten one edge roughly just with a circular saw, and then I'm going to pass it through a table saw to get whatever the minimum width is left, like from this line over to here. That's what I'll set the saw at, then it'll make it a square board. Then I'll run it through the joiner, and then I'm going to biscuit the pieces together, probably pass it through the planer again after that, either before or after I biscuit it. And basically the whole point of this is we're going from tree to trim. This is the back. So you see it still has all the bark on it. Thought I would go ahead and leave it with a live edge, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and make this into, dimensional lumber. I'm going to make all the edges square and straight and join the pieces together because I need a bigger piece for the project I'm doing. So I was just going to show you all the steps of going from tree to trim, and I'll show you the whole process. And I don't think I mentioned it earlier, but this was a cherry tree that it got hit when I was building my shop, and I took down a large pine. The large pine hit this cherry tree on its way down, snapped it off about 10 or 12, 15 feet up off the ground. It snapped the top out of it, and so I did this with it. I was gonna, like I said, I chopped it down. Y'all saw the process, and I was gonna make one big beam, but just didn't really like it, so we're going this route instead. But that's what this is. Okay, now I've got, this is the edge I just ripped with the circular saw. Used the straight edge, got a straight line. Now I've measured off of that line down the length of the board, found the narrowest number, and then set the fence to that narrowest number so that I'm getting the most that I possibly can out of this piece of wood. And I'm just going to do that for each piece. So each piece will be a different width, and I'll be getting the most I can out of each piece. But they'll be close. Alright, next I'm going to take them to the joiner. I'll get y'all set up when we get down there. Okay, this is a joiner. I'm going to run it through this to straighten the edges to join the two boards together. So I just got them laid out here on this piece of carpet. Kind of trying to decide how I want to join them. And if you look, these two at least is it's called book matched. It's basically, when this was the tree, this piece was folded like this. This was how the tree was, and you can tell that by when you open it. That's why I call it book match. It's like I'm opening it like a book, and you could see how all the knots are identical. And they line up a little, so it's, I don't know, kind of like a mirror image of each other, kind of neat. You see it there too. This was the piece off the other end. This isn't gonna be book matched, and neither is this. I'm actually a little confused what I did here, because these came out of the same section of the tree, I thought, but I can't get anything to line up. But this is kind of how I have to put it together, due to chips and cracks and stuff. This is the best way to face it. So I'm going to put these two pieces together this way, these three pieces together this way, clamp it up, glue it, biscuit it, and then when it dries, I'll cut it to the dimensions. I'll run it through this table saw. This is actually a table saw we're sitting on. And it's got a nice wide table, and I'll run it through. So I'll show you all that, but this is going to be a multi-step process. So now they're joined. You can see when I close it how tight these joints fit. That's what that joiner does. It gets these perfectly flat where they meet up perfectly, and the planer gets them to the perfect thickness. So they're all the same thickness now, and all the edges are joined. So when they clamp, it'll be nice and tight. Back up to the other building to do the biscuiting, but it's a process, and then ultimately it's going to get routered and cut to length and oiled. So stick around and see the whole process. It's pretty cool. Okay, for any of y'all that aren't familiar with biscuits, it's These are them. They're little pieces of wood wafers. And this tool right here makes a, I did a test on a, you always want to do a test on a scrap because you have to get the height of it adjusted because it varies. You want to try to get this in the center of your width of your wood. This is a test, so it doesn't matter. But my cherry wood is an inch thick, so I wanted this to be a ½ inch down from the top. And that's what it does. It just plunges into the wood, makes a little cut, and then that wafer fits into here. And I'll show you all that. But so that's what I'm going to do now. I've got them all marked, and I've got all the boards book matched. I got these out in the sun, these two, and I'm pretty sure I've got it. It was more apparent in the sun. You could sort of see that right there. So I think I've got those book matched now as well. And I'm going to go ahead and do all these biscuits. I'm lining this up with the marks on the boards because I marked them all together. That way all these will line up on each board. Right, otherwise how would they fit together? And you always want to come off of the same surface too, right? You don't want to flip anything, but as far as the top. I'm gonna glue this up. I'm just gonna use this. This is just the waterproof version. So I've got all the clamps ready. These are little sticks here to help make the pressure more even, and also to prevent the clamp digging into the wood. I'm gonna paint just got a cheap little brush, number 20 biscuits. This is an auto shop. What am I doing? Okay, we're gonna let that dry for, I don't know, overnight, and probably run it as a unit through the planer again to get this all flushed up. So I have these glued up pieces up here at the other shop now. I haven't took the clamps off yet because I'm going to run them through the planer once I pull the clamps. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the clamps. It's been a couple days, by the way, or yeah, about 2 days. There we go. So now I'm going to run that through the planer. So it's still about an inch thick, and it'll get rid of it'll make this joint perfect. So let me grab the other one. So I took one of the clamps off to use another project after it was dry, obviously. Okay. There we go. Cool. Not flat, but it will be. That's just glue, those black marks. Since my chop saw will not cut material this wide, 9 inches wide, I'm going to use a circular saw to make this cut. Okay, so let's dust this off. Sanding dust. This is what I'm going to put on it. This is going to be face down. This is going to be joined up to another board, and this will be up against a wall. That's kind of all I'm going to say. So, this is the only routed edge here, and you'll be looking at this. But basically, that's as far as this video is going to go. Is getting this tung oil on here, at least one coat, because that's tree to trim, baby. And then if you'd like to see the rest of it, I'm not sure if you could, little sneak peek, you could probably see some of it down there on the end of the table there. There's more parts that weren't involved in this video. If you'd like to see it, it's going to be in the next video. But it's the camper build. And so ultimately that's where this is going to end up, along with more parts. But ultimately this will end up in the camper build. Wow, that really looks awesome. If you'd like to see all this stuff installed and what exactly it is, come for the next video. It's going to be the whole camper build. I am reassembling it, and I'm, for the most part, but I'm also adding some new stuff. I don't know if y'all have never seen it, but it was a setup as a camper. Okay, well that's it. That's one coat of the Watco tung oil, and I'm probably just going to leave this video at that. Like I said, this is tree to trim. She's cut to length and got the one edge router. It's really beautiful. I don't know if the camera is picking it up, but it looks really beautiful. So what you do with this stuff though is you let it soak in for a while, and then you sort of buff it, like basically just like buff it with like a dry clean rag, and then you just apply it again. And depending who you ask or where you read, I don't know, anywhere up to maybe 6 coats. Maybe also depending on what you're using it for. This will not be outdoors, but it will be getting a lot of humidity. But anyway, that's it. Tree to trim. I hope you enjoyed. And come check out the other video and see all of it in its finished and installed state.